Hello folks, welcome to OTD, also known as On the Deck, where you can get all the sports you need in 10 minutes. My name is Adam Arduna, this is my mom Gina.
He's the journalist.
And she's the enthusiast.
I am the enthusiast because we're doing March Madness in January.
Yes.
Well, actually not, we're just talking hoops.
Right, we are just kind of doing our first real look into the college basketball season, and we're going to just talk about the conferences and kind of who our favorites are. And
well, not all the conferences.
Not all the conferences,
Lord,
because
no.
we don't have enough time for that. And there's just so many of them. But we're going to talk about really just the big six. And it's really, if you're talking about football, you know, you have your Power Five and Group of Five. Well, for basketball, we're going to call it the Big Six.
There we go.
And we're going to add in the Big East because they were a legitimate football conference.
Oh,
Miami,
yeah, back in the day.
Rutgers,
back in the day.
et cetera, et cetera. Pitt, Syracuse, UConn. There's a lot of big, it was a dominant football conference as well. Obviously, with teams going to other conferences and other, you know, realignment, exactly. They decided to no longer have a football conference.
But they got hoops.
But they definitely have basketball. And so we put them in with our this category today with all the other
so we got our Power Five conferences plus the Big East, and that's what we're calling the Big Six.
The Big Six.
Well, let's rank them. Let's get it.
Okay, so, well, before we start ranking, I want to ask you if you have a favorite conference with certain teams or coaches that just, hey, I just love rooting for these teams. I really love this bunch of coaches, or I've always been a fan of this conference. Do you have a favorite out of this grouping?
Well, let me think. Big 12. I mean, I don't have on my Big 12 hat today, like one of the few times I'm nowhere. Of course. And obviously I'm a Big 12 girl, and I love our conference. But I have legit reasons in basketball to think that they're not only my favorite, I will tell you when we rank them, I'll just ruin it for you. They're my top two. As a matter of fact, they're my #1 conference out of all of them. Okay. So who do you like?
Take away the element of surprise.
I got others. I got others.
Okay.
But who do you like?
Well, I obviously do like the Big 12 for all the reasons. Being in the Midwest, playing in the Big 12 conference, and their dominance in all sports, it's hard to not have that be a favorite. But I'm actually going to go with the Big East. They're one of my favorite conferences to watch, just because a lot of the teams that are in that conference, they don't, as we said, have a football program that's at least in the FBS level. Right. But there are some teams in that conference that I really do like to root for.
So basically all hoops.
They're just all hoops conference, basically. And I like to watch them play. Again, it's nothing against the Big 12. I love the Big 12 conference. And I would say that maybe they're a 1A for this year. But I would say that my favorite conference for basketball just this year would be the Big East.
Okay.
So, yeah. So you like the Big 12. I like the Big East.
Yes.
Okay, so with our Big Six, let's go ahead and now do the rankings.
Okay.
And do you want to start from the top down or from the bottom down?
No, I'm going to go from the bottom up. I'm going to build up to crescendo.
Just to make sure everyone understands the Big Six, we've got the ACC, the Big 12, the Big East, the Big 10, the SEC, and the Pac-12. So that's the Big Six in our standards here for basketball conference.
That's how we're grouping them.
Yes.
Well, if I'm going to go lowest to highest, I'm actually going to put, it's probably a shocker, I'm putting the SEC at the bottom of that.
Okay.
And I know Kentucky is sitting over there, and Kentucky a couple of years ago just dominated. Everybody thought they had a pro team there and all that. But outside of Kentucky, who do you have? Right now, Florida isn't that great. They had their run a few years ago. Billy Donovan has left for the pros. He's at coaching in Oklahoma City. You don't have a dominant Georgia. A&M is not doing anything. LSU, I don't see them doing anything. Vanderbilt can be a Cinderella story. But I just don't feel that other, you know, Mizzou is down. Alabama is a football school. Auburn, I just don't see. I only see one really strong team coming out of the SEC. So they're on the bottom for me. I'm going to go up one step from that and then say the Pac-12. They do have Oregon over there, and they were a preseason all-time favorite. They do have the history of UCLA, and you've had Arizona State sometimes. But right now, I don't think any of them are performing at a really high level. And I think you may get one or two teams into the tournament, but I don't think anybody's going to be, you know, beating each other up. I'm going to go one step above them and go to the Big Ten. Because the Big Ten does have Indiana, and they do have Purdue, and they do have Michigan State, who was on a run, but, you know, the football team turned to the left. You know, Michigan State jacked up all of our brackets last year. So, you know, they're there, but I just don't see them being dominant. Wisconsin, Ohio State, Nebraska, they're all, you know, they're right in there. And they're going to be good against each other. But I do have them above the Pac-12. And then my top three, just in order, I'm going to go the Big East because they do have Creighton, they do have Villanova. It's good high high-flying basketball.
Right.
I think it's really good fundamental basketball, too, in the Big East. But I'm going to put the ACC as number 2, and then I already ruined it for you. The Big 12 is my number 1 conference.
Sure.
So that's how I got them right.
That's a good list, and I'm not going to really veer too far off of that because I think to all the points that you just made, that's basically correct. Within the SEC, you take away Kentucky,
right?
There really isn't anybody else. I think you can maybe throw out a South Carolina with Frank Martin.
Love Frank Martin, yes.
But even at that, they're not probably going to win the tournament.
Right.
And all of the other teams that we said, there are some big name coaches, but for the most part, there really isn't a team that you can just be like, all right, this team has it locked down. So I will also put them in the 6th spot. I think I will put the Big Ten at the 5 spot. I think they have a better depth as far as top to bottom, but all of those teams are underperforming, just like you said. They're all middle of the road, and middle of the road isn't going to get you anywhere. And so therefore, the Pac-12 for me will jump them with UCLA, who's been playing well. Oregon, who, like you said, preseason, everything. I still think they have a lot in the tank. I think a UW will come ahead throughout the season, and we'll see what happens with the Arizonas. Again, they're not doing anything to impress anyone up to this point, but I think as far as just, hey, we need 2 or 3 teams to really dominate, I think the Pac-12 has those, unlike the Big Ten, where if you're just counting on an Indiana and Purdue, I don't know if that's going to get it done.
Well, I'm ready to argue this. Go ahead, finish your list. I'm ready to argue.
That's where my bottom 3 are, and then for my top 3, I will go that I agree with you. I think that the Big East is more of a fundamental style, but I think this year they have a little bit more flash in the pan, and I think with the ACC, there's just a lot of watering down. I think every team is about the same. You do have North Carolina. You still do have Duke.
You got
even
Louisville.
though Coach K is not coaching right at the moment, but you still do have Louisville. And there's a couple others, Virginia and even
Syracuse.
Syracuse is kind of down. Georgia Tech's kind of down as well. So, again, it's kind of similar to the Big Ten. There's some really, there are some teams, but everyone's kind of in that middle pack. And so that's why I thrust the Big East to number 2, because I really do think Creighton, Villanova, Xavier, Butler, they're all playing at a really high level.
Butler was whooping up people last weekend.
Yeah, so I put them number 2, and then number 1 is the Big 12. Even though I don't have them being my favorite,
your favorite,
but I think they are that good. I do think
my son. Now
every year they are having constantly every year. There's 7 to 8 teams that could make it into the tournament and go deep. Part of the reason why they don't make it that far in the tournament is because there's only 10 teams, so you do have to play every team.
You're round robin all the time,
and you're
beating
beating each other up, and so your legs just aren't there. That doesn't mean that a team won't make it further, but just last night, West Virginia got beat by OU in overtime.
Right.
And so it's just one of those situations, even without a Buddy Hield for OU, they're just as competitive as they were the season before. So that's where I go with that, and we'll see. It's tough. Basketball is hard.
Oh my God, it's hard to predict.
Rhythm and flow, and one injury can impact the entire team. So, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Well, I guess I wanted to say to you this about the ACC. I feel like maybe Louisville isn't getting enough credit, right now. I agree with you. You could flip and flop the Big East and the ACC.
Yes,
but
100%.
I still have to give the edge there. I'm worried about what's going on in the Big Ten. Come on, Michigan State.
It's a little tough right now for what the Big Ten is supposed to be. Michigan State, even Ohio State for that matter. When your
Purdue,
top teams
Indiana,
are Purdue, even though they do have a lot of good height and they're scrappy, but it's like, Wisconsin is supposed to be the best team, and they're not. This isn't even the best Wisconsin team they've had.
So Purdue was my low-key strap one last year, so we'll see.
Tom Izzo will get that team rolling up there in Michigan State, so you can never count them out. But like you said, they broke our heart in the tournament last year.
Oh my gosh, they broke everybody's bracket.
It's one of those situations where it's like the Big Ten is underachieving right now.
Well, they need to get in a street fight and
they need to do something.
But let's go Big 12.
You're right,
all
Big
day.
12. Just keep going, and hopefully someone can come out on top this year.
And here's the thing, I'm always wrong, so whatever I just picked, who knows what will happen. I have great analysis and terrible predictions, so we'll see.
Right.
we'll see how that goes.
We just want to say, please continue to follow us on all of our social media. We're really glad to continue to bring you these updates with college basketball now that we're focusing on college basketball.
We'll have to do a show every day just to keep up.
Right, exactly.
Every time you turn around, there's a basketball game on.
Right.
They've all been pretty good so far.
They have been pretty good so far. So we'll see what happens in the tournament, and we'll just give you the updates as they come through. So we just want to say we appreciate your time, and thanks for watching, folks.